What would you do if, after finally finding your soulmate and building a life together, your lies and addiction destroyed everything? This is the story of how one mistake shattered everything I ever dreamed of. I am here to tell my story. I am here for support and guidance because I am feeling very hopeless right now, and my mind is really convincing me that I do not deserve to be here anymore. I am a 25-year-old man and she is a 29-year-old woman. 3 years ago, I met someone over the internet on a sober application dealing with the same addiction that I deal with, which is cocaine. We chatted that night for hours. Little did I know that simple phone call was going to lead to the most beautiful relationship that I am probably ever going to have. We started out as just friends. She was engaged. I was in a casual, undefined relationship with a girl at the time. We talked once a week for a couple of hours each day, just trying to be each other's support through our addiction. We understood each other more than anybody else did. Her relationship continued, and I ended up getting into a relationship and having terrible boundaries for myself, insisting on wanting to keep her in my life, but my former girlfriend did not like the fact that I was talking to another girl. My old girlfriend hated the fact that I was talking to another woman. We lost touch for about 2 months, and after I got out of that relationship, I texted her again because I thought about her every single day and I missed her, and she missed me. She forgave me and accepted me back in March 2023, and our friendship went from talking once or twice a week to talking all day every day. We got extremely close after that very fast. She was there for me through my former girlfriend having an abortion and my addiction being in one of the worst parts that it has ever been. She was the only person that never judged me, was always there for me, and accepted me for who I was. She started to be my favorite part of the day. Months of this went on, and throughout this whole time, her relationship was falling apart. After 6 months of us being so close, I realized that I was falling in love with somebody that I had never even seen before, someone I had only heard over a phone, someone that I was not flirting with or had any intention of dating at first, somebody that was truly so special to me. I decided one day that I needed to tell her how I felt. I told her that I think I am falling in love with my best friend. I told her, and she acknowledged how I felt. She did not make me feel bad, and I thought that this would have gone differently because I knew how loyal of a person she was. Her engagement continued to be in a rough patch for a couple of years, and she was dealing with a lot of things on her own plate. I loved and supported her the same way she supported me. I want to emphasize extremely clearly right now that this woman is the most loyal person in the world. A month went on, and one night I was sitting on my couch watching Netflix, and I will never forget the phone call that I received at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was her calling me, crying, saying, "I need to tell you something." And she told me that she loves me and does not know what to do. For about 15 minutes, I was in an absolute haze. I did not even know what to do after hearing that. I was in disbelief. So now, the person I had been growing an intimate bond with and falling for, we both feel the same way. But she is engaged. She lives 3,000 miles away from me, and I had never even met her. We did not act on anything. We did not flirt. We did not do anything. We just continued to be ourselves and be the same people that we were in our friendship. On August 17th, 2023, I decided that I was going to travel across the country to meet this woman that absolutely stole my heart. I rented a car and drove from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Sacramento, California in 3.5 days, crying because I was so excited to meet this woman that I had been friends with and had been building such a close connection with for over a year. 35 hours of drive. Time and 2,600 miles later, I entered the state of California for the first time in my life. I remember parking my car 3 spots away and her walking around the side of her car and just running up and jumping into my arms and giving me the best hug that I have gotten in my entire life. I will never forget the first time I laid eyes on her. I knew right there and then that that woman was my soulmate. I experienced the cliché love at first sight. It is real. We spent about 15 minutes together and she was on her way to work. I went and got a hotel room because I was going to stay for a week and hang out. She went to work, and I was the happiest person in the entire world to finally meet this woman that I have fallen head over heels for. We hung out later that night, walked around the small, cute shopping center that had lights up at night, and we could not stop hugging each other and smiling so much. I never felt so much happiness in my entire life. All that time that we wished we could have met each other in person, after building the bond we had, admitting to each other that we had feelings for each other, and how me and her both thought that it was never even going to be a thing because she was still in a relationship and she was a loyal girl even with her relationship failing. We eventually sat down at a bar and were both so nervous like two kids that were just scared of the world when it came to facing each other because we valued each other's opinion so much. We had a few drinks to calm our nerves and hours of smiling and coming to the realization that what we had was probably very real and just how happy we were to finally be able to look each other in the eyes and smile. Later that night, we ended up giving in to our impulses and I kissed her and she kissed me back and we made love together. She actually even stopped me in the middle of it because she started crying because she knew what she was doing was so wrong. And I immediately stopped and hugged her and told her that she has nothing to worry about and that I totally respected how she felt. I felt the same way. But for some reason, that sense of security and safety and just her knowing that I was never going to force something on her made her trust me, and we continued shortly after. When I tell you that was the best and most intimate time of my entire life, I mean it. I laid there and held her before she left for the night and went home, and we finally felt like all the built-up emotions that we had for each other were let out all at once. The next day she was extremely regretful, and things were very rough the following day, and I stayed for a week. We continued to hang out. Unfortunately, we could not stop loving each other the way that we should not have been. Eventually, we went to Lake Tahoe, and I took my first picture of myself with her, kissing her on the cheek, and I am looking at the picture as I am writing this. I cannot emphasize to anyone that takes the time to read this the amount of happiness that I was feeling in that moment. The amount of happiness that me and her shared in that moment probably will be the most happiness I feel in my life. I ended up going home and she broke the news to her fiancé, and obviously things were very bad. I ended up moving to California full-time and had a lot of complications over the course of August 2023 until January 1st, 2024, and we were on and off, being in love and wanting to have something real so badly that we could not have as she was trying to figure out what she was doing in her own life and her own relationship. She was so in love with me and I was so in love with her. Fast forward to January. I was homeless, doing everything I could just to be within the same proximity, in the same state with this woman that I was so madly in love with, and that I would do anything for. I ended up finally having to give in, and I flew back to Pennsylvania, and we stayed in contact the whole time. We were both probably at some of the lowest points of our lives. She finally ended her engagement in March. We did not see each other until I came to see her for her 28th birthday in April. It was the first time I saw her, and she was actually single, and we would not be doing anything that we were going to feel guilty about the next day. I set up the cutest thing for a woman in my entire life. Candles in the hallway leading to the bedroom, flowers on the bed, happy birthday balloons, the whole setting prepared. I was just once again so happy to see this woman that I am head over heels in love with. I had not seen her for 4 months, and when she picked me up at the airport, the first thing that she did was kiss me. We had not even planned on doing anything like that because she was still trying to process the end of her engagement. I had the most magical weekend of my life with her for her birthday that April. 2024. Fast forward again, we came back and forth. She finally came to Pittsburgh and I showed her my childhood and where I grew up. I introduced her to my family, still not as my girlfriend. But that night that she got there, we sat in my room and sat down. I looked at her in the eyes. I handed her a promise ring and promised to never hurt her because I knew everything that she had been through. I asked her to be my girlfriend, and she told me yes with the biggest smile on her face on June 1st, 2024. I ended up moving in with her in California officially in August 2024. We finally did it. We finally had the life that we had wanted, the life that we fought for and went through that misery and pain to have after everything. We convinced her family that I am not a terrible person because of the way that our relationship started, and that was it. I thought my addiction was going to finally go away. I thought I was not going to be miserable about missing her. I thought I was not going to be miserable about anything. How could I be? I had everything that I ever wanted, which was her. Everyone can probably guess that the first couple of months were the honeymoon phase. Everything was perfect. I was dealing with a court case that I thought was going to result in me having to spend a couple of months or a year in jail. And we were worried about that. I continued to convince myself that this was still driving my addiction, and I relapsed. Before that, me and her were still strong. My court case got pushed out to May 2025, And from the months of October to May 2025 were probably the worst months of both of our lives. I could not stop myself from making mistakes and lying. I continued to use drugs behind her back because I was so scared of her not wanting to deal with it anymore after, knowing me for 2 years at that point, I thought she was going to think I was out of control for even wanting to. Continued to use after how happy we were together. Christmas came. We spoiled each other. And eventually at the end of January, we finally moved into our first apartment together and I was jobless. This is where it gets bad. I have a record, and it is very hard for me to get a job being a felon, but she never looked at me any differently because of that. I got a contingent job offer from a dealership making $46 an hour, and she was so relieved and I was so relieved. But it ended up falling through, and I did not know how to break the news to her, so I got high the day I found out. That is when the lies started. I lied about getting the job, which turned into 2 months of me lying that I had a job there and feeling guilt for not saying what actually happened. I kept using because of how much guilt I felt. Then when the time came for her to ask me, "Where is your paycheck?" I said that the company was bankrupt and I had to file a lawsuit to get my money. At this point, I was in so deep, and I knew that no matter what was going to happen, my relationship was going to fail, and I was going to lose my soulmate and the love of my life, all because I could not bring myself to tell her the truth about one small thing that we could have worked past. Every day, I lived in fear. Every day I cried when she was not at home and tried to figure out a way to come up with the money that she was putting forth to support both of us. Just recently, 2 to 3 days ago, she found out everything that I lied about, and she is still telling me that she loves me, but she has said that she can never be with me again. I do not hate her, but this is my story. There are obviously little bits and details that were left out, but the core details are here. I know this is so long, and if anybody actually takes the time to read this, it would mean the world to me. I want to finish this by saying, am I a fool for still wanting to get on my knees and beg her and her family for forgiveness after betraying her? Keeping a lie going for 2 to 3 months. Lying about a job. Lying about a court case. Lying about everything? Am I crazy? Am I a terrible person for even being upset that I am losing her? This was all my fault. I caused this, and I knew throughout the whole time that I was lying. I knew this day was going to come, and I still could never bring myself to just tell her the truth. I have been so up and down. I do not know what to do. But all I know is that I am sitting in a hotel room waiting for a plane ticket home tomorrow, and I am scared that I am never going to see her again. I do not know how to come to terms with the fact that she is telling me that she can never see us working out down the line, even after years of us healing ourselves because we both have our own things that we need to work on. She told me that if I loved her, I would do anything to win her back and win her family back. The truth is, I would go to the end of the earth for this woman still. I do not know how to express my regret and remorse for what I have done. I need advice on what to do because I am feeling very hopeless right now. I cannot imagine a life without this girl. Me and this woman talked about getting married to each other every week. It was so real. It was probably leading up to me proposing to her by the end of this year or next year. I do not know what to do. I will stop rambling now. If anybody reads this all the way through, you are a saint. Thank you. I need to add in that I did not clarify that throughout all of this woman was the most supportive person in my entire life. She always accepted me for who I was. Always accepted me for my mistakes. She loved me to the ends of the earth. Tried to get me into therapy, which I was in for 4 months, and it just never worked out because I was not putting the effort in. I could not stop using and had so much regret about my life and my lies that I was continuing to tell. Her family was nothing but supportive and amazing. Everyone that surrounded her in her life was amazing to me and was ready to take me in as a part of their family. I just wanted to clarify that this woman loved me in the purest way possible, and I will never have one single bad thing to ever say about her or anyone in her family. I never planned on this being a story that I was going to post online for the internet to read. I need to include there are more details that I left out, one being that my girlfriend supported us for the past 6 months, and I owe her approximately $10,000, which I have every intention of paying her back. Every cent I was taking money from her to feed my addiction at some points. I lied about there being a bankruptcy at the job that I did not have and even made a fake email and started emailing her about the court case that never existed as if I was the lawyer. Lied to her about getting my tax return back. which was supposed to be over $1,000 and ended up only being $150. But I still lied. Finally, I introduced her father to a not-so-great person, and he ended up getting taken advantage of and losing $2,000. That is the short story of the hard details I did not add. If you are ever reading this, my love, I beg you to one day let me make it up to you. Let me make you that happy girl that you were, and that your father was so happy to see for months when we started dating. I promise I would never make the same mistake again. I can be the man that you fell in love with again permanently. And even better than I was, I love you so much. Do you believe in second chances? Share your thoughts in the comments and let me know. If you were in her place, could you forgive, or is this the kind of betrayal that ends love forever?